We have a fun one today, everyone. Today I'm reviewing Feathers and Flesh by Avatar. This is their sixth album, and in my opinion, their best. This is just such a great record, okay? Um, I can actually describe all the tracks on here. I'm not just going to be an incoherent mess for 11 minutes like I was with the Glow Part 2 review. But this is just like an insanely good album, and I was a bit worried because when I did my review of their last album, when I was listening to it, it didn't quite hit me like as hard as I was expecting it to, which is like completely normal when I'm listening to albums. Sometimes like I'm just not feeling it that day. But I listened to this one, and God, the production it just amazes me every single time I listen to it. I always find something new, and it's not even like super detailed. It's just great. But this album sort of acts like a soundtrack to a book they released of the same name. It's full of poems. I wouldn't exactly call it the greatest thing I've heard, but this album might actually be one of the greatest things I've heard because just every song on here is so well crafted. I mean, the solos for one are just absolutely amazing. The both guitarists can really play. There's not really a set rhythm guitarist and set lead guitarist in their lineup, so they can both just play equally good solos, and they have just fantastic chemistry between each other. Like, since they can both go back and forth between playing lead and rhythm during the solos, like you'll always hear them sort of like intertwining and going back and forth, and it's just so fun to listen to. Their chorus game on this album is also just incredible. I love so many of the choruses on here, and sort of the variation. Like every song on here feels unique to some extent, and I absolutely love that. Like they all feel unique, but at the same time, they all have like a shared sound to them, which is really really nice to hear. It's not like just a collection of songs that all sound really great. They all sort of flow together to create this just magnificent album. 14 tracks long, I believe an hour and 4 minutes ish in length. But they do not waste a second of music on here, except maybe on the last one, but that's not wasted. It's used for building the ambience. And it is a concept album. I'll get into that. I'll sort of say what happens at the beginning of each song because, like I've said countless times, I'm not a super lyrical person. I'm not the kind of person that just dives like all into the lyrics and tries to take like different interpretations and everything. It's just not me. So I'm gonna break down the instrumentation as best I can on here. But starting out with regret, basically, we have we have an owl sort of who's the protagonist of the story, sort of talking about while she's almost on her deathbed, how she wants her children to have it better. At least that's my interpretation again. But it starts out pretty simple with these guitars, but then you start building this beat up, and eventually there's this soaring guitar riff that comes in. I'd call it more of a solo because it's never like repeated at any point, and it just keeps going, and then it all like sort of comes down into this one hit for the transition into House of Eternal Hunt, which shares a lot of the same themes, except now the owl's a bit more. Basically, she wants to get rid of the day so that her children cannot have it like always be night for them because they're owls. It's a very simple plot, but it's just executed really well and in a really entertaining way. And I mean, that's what you're looking for when you're listening to an Avatar album. You're just looking for something that's really entertaining, and this is just amazingly entertaining, you know. But on here, this is a fine example of the guitars. The guitar solos just having such great chemistry, and both guitars really being able to shine, because one will do like a couple bars, and then it'll sort of dive out, but it'll still be doing rhythm, while the other one sort of shines, and it just goes back and forth, and they can play all these different moods. Like they'll play like soaring, and then they'll play like a little bit down, and the chorus on here is also really great. Sort of, don't care if you're ready. Sort of these harsh vocals into the chorus. It's just fantastic. God, this review is going to take a while. I can see that. I'm only on the second track, and we're already 6 minutes in. But whatever, I'm not wasting any more time. After that, The Eagle Has Landed. This song almost made me cry when I was listening to it. Not because it's sad by any means, but it's just so good. Like every note on here is just perfect. I could talk about it for days. But it has this really strutty groove to it. Lyrically, they sort of dive into the antagonist, the eagle, who is sort of fighting for the day, and it's sort of entering this story, and it's just fun, you know. um, Excellent pre-chorus on here. The pre-chorus really sticks out to me. That laugh, as fake as it is, I think that's very intentional, and it just sounds so good. And the chorus is sort of it's simple. The notes played are simple. The rhythms are simple, but it's just executed so well, you know. I just stopped saying you know. I'm gonna stop doing that now. But after that, New Land, another one of my favorites. It's got this nice sort of guitar riff going on all throughout. That's like it has a lot of post distortion in it. Like it was distorted afterwards, sort of like it's being played through like an old Bluetooth speaker or something. But it's really great, especially like as it builds up into this massive song, and then the chorus of just everything dropping out, and you just get these sort of spiraling guitar riffs in the background. It just makes me think of like sort of this owl flying over the ocean with her children at night, looking for the new land, which is, of course, what this song is about. I basically just explained it right there. But the bridge on this thing is also really cool, with all these backing vocals that sort of sing a similar melody and lyrics to the main vocals, but just a little bit different to give it some extra flavor. And then the third time the chorus comes through, it's just so amazing, with these huge boom, 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 boom all over it, and it's just building up until it finishes off with that same guitar riff, the post-distorted guitar riff. Just such a good song. All these songs on here are amazing. But then Tooth, Beak, and Claw. A lot of reviewers and even Avatar themselves sort of call this a hellish surf rock song, and I don't exactly see that. I mean, there's definitely the part with the surf rock. I want to say like a slide on it, but that's really the only moment I can really think of. Other than that, it's just really dark, and lyrically they sort of get into the owl sort of collaborates with these things called the eyes, which are none of these characters' names are revealed in the album. You have to read the book to understand it, but it helps a lot to know that it. Like I said, it sort of soundtracks it. But these eyes sort of saying that they can take on the eagle for the owl. Um, not a ton to say on it. I feel like the words that describe this song are yet to come to me. It's just very unique. And then for the Swarm, it has this just same repeating guitar riff that's super simple, all throughout it, and it'll just get heavier and then weaker. It makes a lot of sense for the lyrical content of just a bunch of bees throughout. That's a thing that I forgot to mention on the previous track is that story wise they actually go to war a little bit, and you can hear that there are these epic guitar riffs on Toothpick and Claw, but after that the owl sort of goes around seeing how it's affected all these creatures, and she sees the bees sort of trying to get back to work, but the sort of the repetition of the song I think really aids it because it sort of shows how like all these bees are similar. It's really small. It's a really small detail, but I think it makes it really nice. And this is one of those songs on Avatar albums. They have one on every album that's like super short and not like a lot of people won't remember it, but this one definitely sticks out to me because of its purpose in the sort of story, and just the fact that it's the riff on it is so easy to memorize. It's really catchy, and yeah, and then Fiddler's Farewell. Lyrically, I believe it's like a grasshopper or something burying their friend who died because they were trampled by all the animals. Um, I'd call it a ballad of sorts. It's not. There's another one on here that I'd call a ballad, but this one is a lot less heavy compared to the one that comes later. Um, but it's still got these nice sort of nostalgic guitars. They just remind me a lot of like fall, and I think that's very much the point, especially with the vocals on the chorus of "There goes the summer." Um, yeah, it's just another fantastic song. Even though it's not the biggest, and I think a lot of Avatar fans skip over it to focus on the more metal cuts, but it does really aid the album in its progression, especially on the outro with its sort of it almost feels sampled, but like you can tell it's not. You can tell they recorded it, but sort of I believe it's like a cello line or something that sounds all degraded to finish it out. And then One More Hill, lyrically, it's the eyes coming back together to sort of take revenge on the owl for diminishing their numbers because they sort of lost. And it's filled with these really straightforward like pounding drums, and the guitars for the most parts like are in like perfect like they're perfectly synced with each other, so it just sounds like one massive guitar playing through it. So everything just sounds like it's like being played and sung by like a million creatures, and the vocals back that up because I believe they're layered. It's like a bunch over themselves, so it sounds like a bunch of different creatures are like singing them. Um, but yeah, um, it like even the solo on here I believe is pretty well contained. Like it's not too crazy, and that's because it is supposed to be sort of like a war chant that they sing as they sort of try and attack the owl and get her away. But after that is Black Waters, one of my favorite tracks, especially lyrically, where basically the owl falls underwater and like these like murky swamp waters, black waters, if you will, and meets this Pike who tells her that if she just stays here, she won't have to worry about the problems of the outside world, and like, why even bother if you can just stay safe under these black waters. And it sounds great too, because the way they set up the verses, everything has this sort of layer of distortion to it, and the vocals sound kind of distant, almost like not what you'd hear underwater, of course, but like what you'd think you could hear if you could hear underwater and you were listening to someone. Like, it sounds different than like the other songs the vocals do. But the instrumentation on here is just really great. It does capture that watery feel. I'm picking up a little bit of like sludge vibes on here. It's got all these swampy guitar riffs on them. Of course, that's very fitting, but they're sort of just really slow compared to the rest of the album. Sort of to emphasize each note, almost like a stoner rock song, I'd say. Just another fantastic song, and it's the intro and outro of these sort of backwards sounding notes just really adds to it, because it sounds all like murky, like I've said about the rest of the song. Just fantastic. And then Night Never Ending, where the this wolf comes along and tells her that, like, tells the owl that it's not worth just giving up everything just for safety, and like, victory is the you gotta fight for what you think is right, you know. It's really uplifting, and it does have these whoa woes on them that you normally associate with a lot of like millennial pop music, but I completely excuse them here, and here's why. Okay, they are done so well on here because they completely serve their purpose. They don't feel like they're like due to like a lack of like writing ability or anything. They feel like they were intentionally put in there to sound super victorious. Sort of the themes of the song, especially with all the bright guitars that sort of cut through the dark waters of the previous song. Just really great. And then Pray the Sun Away is the big epic climactic showdown between the eagle and the owl and the wolf. And I actually don't have too much to say on it. It does sort of sound like the other songs on this album, maybe to a fault for some people, but not for me, and that's because the chorus sort of sets it out of "Hear what I am saying." God, I cannot hold a pitch. But yeah, it sort of goes downhill, and there's this weird, almost like avant-garde part with like all these like dying strings and like these like screechy guitars, where we basically get some dialogue from the bear saying that like their tears all taste the same. Like it doesn't really matter whose side loses, because like for everyone else, it's just it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect them. Yeah, like I said, not too much to say on it, but it is a great climax to the story and the album as well. And then following that, the wolf gets killed by the eagle. In fact, pretty much everyone dies. It's like a lose lose lose. The eagle gets killed, but both the owl and the wolf are severely fatally wounded. So the wolf dies, and the owl sings this just glorious ballad. This is the second ballad on the album. It's a lot more metal driven, but for him sort of saying like he'll just run on forever, and it's cliched, but that's like completely the point, and I still think it's perfect. Um, Not because it's flawed. I don't think it's flawed. I think the cliche helps it sort of just to keep the impact of it, because you know everything that they're gonna say, but it just the way it's executed. I think that's how I want to put it. The way it's executed is just fantastic. And these screams, God, the screams of yeah, just sound like so like sad, but at the same time just grateful that this wolf got such a good life, I guess. And yeah, I think it's another one of my favorites. I'd say that it's another one of my favorites. And then following that song, Raven Wine. It has a long instrumental intro, and I think that's for a good reason, because they sort of want to let the previous song sit with you for some time, so that you're not just thrust into this different song, because it like if it doesn't live up to those high expectations of that song, then it's gonna just feel like, well, I wanted to stick with that one for a little bit longer. So it does help that this instrumental does it, but at the like helps with that, but at the same time, it's building up to this verse on this song, Raven Wine, of all these ravens circling overhead and talking about how they're going to eat the owl's body, which is quite disturbing. But something interesting, it's another song with that boom, 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 boom style chorus of just these massive hits at the start of every beat. Like I said, they just do it incredibly well. It's super simple, super well executed. And the vocals sort of sound like this evil, but not like antagonist evil, like sort of uh, like um, like a thief type of evil, like a thief that you'd hear in like a fantasy story, like where they're not like that big of an antagonist, but they're still sort of uh, annoying. This song is anything but annoying, though. Something that really I find interesting about it is that the solo on here, it's barely even a solo. It's sort of just all the instrumentals going around with each other. It's not that intense. It's pretty low key, actually, and I feel like that just shows that like they just have complete control over the situation. Like it's not going to be a fight or anything. They've already pretty much won, so they're just not doing. They don't need to do too much to get what they want. And then the final song, Sky Burial. Wow. That is just like a perfect conclusion to this album. It starts with a reprise of the same two verses that we see in the intro, Regret, but more they're a lot more personally sung. Like you can hear like all the falters in the voice, sort of the out of breath ness of the protagonist, the owl. This song is just about their death, and it's just like a marvelous send off. But after that, we get some new verses and this incredible sort of distorted guitar riff, sort of similar to New Land, though a lot more simpler and very much more sad. A lot slower too. And these military style like snare drums, it sort of feels like they're getting like a military funeral, which very much makes sense considering the wars that they go through for everything. But this song just ends on like such a high note with all these sort of organs and pianos and a little bit of guitar and high choral vocals and low choral vocals, like all just coalescing. Just a beautiful ending. Um, One of my favorites again. So yeah, after that, it sort of just descends into this like white noise that sort of sounds like it's on like a mountain, where you can like sort of assume that the owl has died and passed on. But yeah, that was a long review, and I just happy that I got it out because this album, it just amazes me so much. Every song on here uh, is like so entertaining to listen to. Sure, there's nothing like super deep being said. Like the moral of the story is pretty emo. It's just everyone dies, you know. But it's not focused on the moral. I don't think it's focused on just all the different musical moments, and that's what makes this album a 10. I think just every moment on here is just so memorable. The guitars, the guitar solos are incredible. Everyone in the band has such great chemistry with each other. I love pretty much all the songs on here, and the favorites are like easily some of my favorites of all time. This might be, I think this is my personal favorite um, uh, concept album of all time. I know I said The Wall is the greatest, but I feel like this more on like a personal level just sticks out to me. But yeah, like I said, it's a 10. Let me know what you think in the comments if you want to. You don't have to. But thanks for watching.